Hey guys, welcome to Friday the 13th. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. Today on Massive Iron Live, we are joined by Basement Bodybuilding. Actually, that's the StreamYard duck. Before we came on, somebody on Team Massive was talking about Basement Bodybuilding using StreamYard, and he must be using the free version. No hate, of course, but he had the StreamYard duck. So in honor of Basement Bodybuilding, there he is up in the corner, the StreamYard duck. Very exciting times. We can do a lot of magical things. Instead of the StreamYard duck. So anyway, glad you guys are here. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, the longest running lifting podcast in the history of the universe. Glad you guys are here. I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Before we dive into things, if your comments don't go through, try shortening them. Sometimes longer comments don't go through on the old YouTubes. And if that still doesn't work, you can try filtering out your naughty words, because naughty words sometimes trigger the old YouTube. If you're late to the party, you can come over to Instagram. That's a little scrolly thing going like this right now. You can go over to Instagram and DM me your questions. I'll be glad to help. I answer every question. So how are things going? We got a little bit of a dog fur or something going on there. We just need to get that off. How you got? We're not going to be able to get it off. How you guys doing? I've had a really good training week. I've trained like 5 out of 6 days. I'm going to be doing shoulders today. And just want to say, if any of you guys are struggling with your bench press, I have a couple of client spots open. And I am looking for a couple of guys that really want to, guys, girls, whatever, really want to attack their bench press. So if you're looking at some long-term fun, some long-term shenanigans, you want to attack your bench over the long run, don't hesitate to DM me. Father's Day weekend, Friday the 13th, we have this really weird convergence going on. So happy Friday the 13th. Happy Father's Day. Happy everything. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Let me know if you're doing anything fun for Father's Day. All right, let's dive into things, shall we? My internet connection's a little bit weird today. That's quite odd. So if anything happens or the quality sinks, just let me know. Usually it's been pretty rock solid, but today it's letting me know that it is kind of El Succo. Assassin, how's it going? Good to have you here from Team Massive. Happy Friday the 13th. Get some spooky gains from your favorite assassin. Assassin's over at Team Massive. If any of you guys are not at Team Massive, you can check out the Discord link in the description box of my videos this week. And if that doesn't work, again, head over to Instagram at the Barman. DM me. I'd be happy to send you the link. Anak, hey, big hairy ugly dude. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Big Joe from Canada. How's it going, Big Joe? Big Ernie P. On Massive BLT bench program, what is the rest in between sets? Anything you're doing, generally, unless it's rest pause, is always the same. Rest until you feel physically and mentally ready to go again. Our goal is to get the most out of the next set. We don't have to rest an extended period of time, but the goal is to maximize the next set. So we want to facilitate that by resting until we feel physically and mentally ready to go again. I'm not one to overthink rest. My goal with rest is to attack the next set and get the most out of it. So when you feel ready to go again, attack. It's as easy as that. Rico, how's it going, Rico? Good afternoon. 5-hour drive today. All right. So as long as you guys have questions, I'll stay on. We need to entertain Rico a little bit, just to Entertain Rico. I have some electrolytes, no Monster here today. I put some electrolytes, some LMNT, no affiliation, in my water. Post coffee. That's some beef jerky. I think I still have some floating around the old mouth. Have you ever done a video about Vince Gonda and his style of training? I'm sure I've talked about it many, many times. A very good question. Let me head over to YouTube. I'm sure I have. I know I've written articles about Vince and so on and so forth. But let me just pull up the old Massive Iron YouTube channel. You might be familiar with that. It's called Massive Iron, and it is on YouTube. You might actually be watching it now. So let's see. Searching Gonda, I don't see any videos with his name in the title, oddly enough. I've written articles about it. I've talked about it before, but it doesn't look like I've made any video specifically, so that might be a good one for my classics series. Shelly Turner from the Best Coast, West Coast. Happy live and leg day. Good luck with that leg day. Try not to die. Barbell Beauty from Team Massive. You can tell we have the world's most beautiful women just tuning in today, and they're also members of Team Massive. So if you want to go over to Team Massive and stalk Barbell Beauty or Shelly Turner, we highly encourage that. No, we actually don't. Would a 3-day split consisting of chest, shoulders, arms, and back legs be reasonable? Yeah, it's reasonable. We just have to watch for anything that causes interference. So doing arms after chest and shoulders is perfectly fine. You can do a more, bigger body part, and then the next day do something smaller. The only thing you don't want to do is do arms the day before back. You want your back to be fresh, specifically with your bicepticon. So if you're going to do a split like that, you want to do chest, shoulders, arms, rest, back, legs. If you want to, go straight back into chest, shoulders after that, you certainly can. The only pacing you need to do, and that doesn't mean you can't add in other rest days, is adding a rest day after arms if you are doing biceps. Big Jeffrey. Good morning and happy Friday, Team Massive. I have to fast forward a little bit here because Paul says, I am machine. You are indeed machine. For those of you that don't know the inside joke, I am machine is the most unusual and legendary comment that I've ever had in like 50 million years on YouTube. I want to see if I can find the I Am Machine t-shirt. So if you're not familiar, my website is Super Living Today. I'd really like for you to check out my website, Super Living Today, and buy something. Now, actually, I have a lot of really good apparel over there. And if you're looking for some lifting gear, so we have Team Machine, and we have the I Am Machine. The quote, I don't know if I can actually read this on here. If it's possible to read the quote. Let's see. Can we make it bigger? Can we zoom? I don't know. We're zooming everything, but I guess not. But you can head over to the website and check it out. I don't want to bore you to death. But the quote actually is the all-time greatest quote in the history of my YouTube comments. So we made a t-shirt about it. It's pretty funny, actually. All right, where are we at? I lost my train of thought, boring you guys to death. Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude. Maxway here from Team Massive. Thanks for your feedback and patience. best communicator in the industry. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being part of the team. My question is, when transitioning into a bulk, what is a smarter approach? Go to maintenance and weigh, or just eat more? What I like to do after every bulking period, and this is not a carved in stone rule, you don't have to do this. This is just an approach I think is reasonable. We need to kind of reset a little bit. There's two reasons I advocate this. Number one, so we reset. Number two, so we don't go straight from a cut into a seriously bloatatious weight gain period. So what I recommend is, let's guess about where you are maintenance-wise for calories, weigh in every morning, and try to go maintenance for about 5 days. Let's see what the scale does. Let's see if it kind of levels off. And then from there, we can start zeroing in and making adjustments. Now, this serves, it provides the benefit of us zeroing in where we think our maintenance is, and then adjusting based off that perception. Plus, you know, the last thing you want to do after a cut is be a, how do we say this politely, a funkalicious, fat gaining freak who just goes and binge eats and has rebound of like 8 pounds on a weekend after a cut. So this sort of approach where you go to maintenance, or where you think maintenance is, for about 5 days and weigh in, will help us really zero in and focus. And again, it's not the only way to do it. It's a solid way to do it. After the water weight has and fluctuations have settled in, then you start calculating trends. Absolutely. Once you do this for 5 days, then we kind of watch what the scale is doing. If you're going to about where you think maintenance is at, and then you're at where you think maintenance is at, and the scale is moving up, you're not actually at maintenance, you're at a calorie surplus. So then we might stay at that calorie level and analyze from there. If it's not doing anything, then we know we're safe to add in a couple hundred calories and start slowly moving up. If it's going down, then we underestimate it. So we're probably going to add in 300-400 calories, depending on what the scale is doing. And thank you for tuning in. Big Paul from New Mexico, not Mexico, New Mexico, the newest Mexico. Paul, happy Father's Day. Gone fishing at Crystal Lake. Friday the 13th reference. Thank you very much, Paul. Isaac, hey, big hairy ugly dude, happy Father's Day. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Big Bristol, MDF, Big Martin. Can't catch today's live until later this weekend, but wishing everyone a great weekend. May your gains be merry and bright. Indeed. What was your hardest muscle group or groups to grow up? Easily the biceps. I have potato-looking biceps. No matter what, I just make a bigger potato. They look good down at my side, just hanging there. But, you know, I wish I had a peak. My triceps are so overwhelming with my physique that it makes my bicep potato look even potatoier. So I wish I could bring that up a little bit. Everything else I'm really happy with. Shoulders, traps, back, triceps, chest, legs, everything, hamstrings, calves. I think if anything, I'd like to be able to bring up the hamstrings and the biceps a little bit more. And happy Father's Day to my second dad. Thank you, big hairy ugly dude of BHUDville. Big Nolan, massive lifting story of the week. Always put on the spot, always appreciate it. What kind of a lifting story do we have this week? Let me tell you a lifting story from yesterday where I had a finger in my butt. Are you ready? That's a true story. I had a finger in my butt yesterday. You're probably unfollowing and unfriending and unsubscribing from the channel because of the perverse nature of that last comment. But I assure you it was a medical visit. But an interesting conversation. I Had a slight minor cancer scare. Everything's fine. No need to worry. But I do labs yearly. Check on my testosterone levels, check on everything. I do labs yearly. And my prostate came back a little bit high. And at the range it was at, they said, you have a 25% chance that this is driven by cancer. Hey, that's wonderful, right? So I made an appointment with a urologist. We went, did the thing and the prostate exam and got a finger in my butt. That was fun. Everybody loves a finger in their butt. But anyway, the urologist was a younger gentleman, maybe in his early 30s. And we were talking a little bit about things. And he asked what I did for a living. And I said I was a strength coach, online strength and muscle building coach. And he goes, so he brought up TRT. He said, do you take TRT? Are you interested in taking TRT? Or if you're interested in taking TRT, I can save you money, he said. He wasn't pushing it, but he said he could monitor the health and everything. And, I'll be 58. I told him I was thinking about it, but I've been thinking about it, for 8 years. So I don't know. I feel good. Anyway, here's the story. We were talking about it and he was just discussing it, and it wasn't pushing it. He was just letting me know because I was a strength coach. How's your testosterone levels? We're having a general conversation. Have you ever been on TRT? That sort of thing. So anyway, I said, he was asking me, just about that sort of thing. And I said, on the internet, when you do what I do for a living, you have like 5% of people that believe you are taking abusive levels of chemicals. And we kind of had a joke about it. He understood what I was talking about. But anyway, that's the story of the day. I went to have my prostate looked at. Everything's fine. The cancer scare is over. But we had a conversation. I had a conversation with my urologist about how when you do YouTube, no matter what, you're always going to have 1% to 2% of people that believe you're absolutely abusing everything under the sun, which is their right to live in whatever fantasy world they want to. All right, Nolan, can you discuss belts a little bit? Sure, absolutely. So I sent Nolan's a client of mine. I sent a link to him yesterday. And we're asking about belts. If you're interested in getting in the world of belts, there's no need to spend $1 billion. When it comes to buying equipment like belts or racks or barbells or whatever, there's always going to be guys that say, hey, you can buy the Lamborghini and this will last you forever. What I found is, like, I hate to call it average quality. I'd like to call it reasonable quality. A reasonable quality belt will probably last you as long as you need. If you need to step up your game and go hardcore or whatever, go right ahead. But I would say a 10 millimeter single prong is a good choice. 10 millimeter single prong. You don't need a thicker belt. Don't get a double prong because it's really, really hard to lock in. So I would not get a double prong. But should you get a belt? Well, if you're a serious lifter, it is worthwhile for you to get a belt and to play around with it and see if you like it. Do you need it? Inherently, no. Okay, you don't necessarily need a belt. Some people find value, some people don't. I never really liked wearing a belt. I'm not anti-belt. I have to put that caveat in because when I say that, or I say these sorts of things on the worldwide inner tubes, somebody, walks away with the opinion. He said he doesn't wear a belt, therefore he's anti-belt. No, I'm not anti anything. I'm pro common sense. Get a belt. If you're a serious lifter, get a 10 millimeter single prong as a starting point. See if you like it. See if you like it on specific exercises. If you don't like it, don't wear it. if you can't figure out form and bracing without a belt, then a belt's not really going to help you at all. If your squat form is, not so good, wearing a belt isn't going to do anything, because you're going to jack up your lower back either way. If your deadlift form is like this, wearing a belt isn't going to do anything, because you're going to jack up, you're going to place a lot of stress on your lower back anyway. So you have to make sure your form is reasonable. You have to make sure you're bracing properly, and then you can start to play around with a belt. And I hope that helps. Big Peter Kleinemeyer, glad to have you here, Peter. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, sir. Which day or days is best to include a few ab sets for push-pull legs program? I don't like to generally go into any posterior lift with ab soreness or weakness. It might sound like overthinking, but if your lower back or your core is compromised even a little bit, it can send your central nervous system can be a little bit hesitant to, engage on that day. It's not like you're going to have a dramatic drop off, but like I found, if my core, my lats or whatever is off a little bit and I'm headed into a deadlift day, my central nervous system might be a little bit more stubborn than normal, or the weight might feel a little bit more heavy than normal. Odds are that won't happen. But I don't want to take that risk. So, I will say you don't want to do abs generally the day before a posterior lift, like squats or RDLs or deadlifts. You can do them the day of, you can do them the day after, pretty much any other day. But that's my general advice. I don't like to run the day before posterior. I don't like to do abs the day before posterior. I want to go into my squats and deadlifts as fresh as possible. Big Justin Jones from Jonesville, thanks for tuning in. We are 23 minutes in, guys. I appreciate all your questions. Keep them rolling. I will stay on as long as you have questions. If you guys have any video topics for the week, anything you'd like to see me cover video-wise, let me know. I made some videos, a video this week about Mitchell Hooper saying every man should be able to hit a 600-pound deadlift. Sometimes I hold back on videos. I don't try to get overly dramatic, overly animated, overly whatever, because I don't want to ignite some fire or flame war. But the thought that every man should be able to hit a 600-pound deadlift is, in my opinion, extremely ridiculous. It's hard enough. I'm not trying to set low standards, but it's hard enough to get every man to 400. Even in some of the powerlifting meets, I've been to some really impressive powerlifting meets, impressive quality pool of lifters. 600 is still hard. 600 can be hard. Much over 600 can be hard when you see guys squatting way above that. It can be a hard lift. So I don't know why he pulled that out of his dark crevasse, but it's absolutely no. I don't think every man has the potential to do that. I have soreness in my quads, and tomorrow is leg day. So you could take an extra rest day, or if it's debilitating, you need to maybe go a little bit lighter. Soreness isn't inherently a bad thing unless it's going to compromise your form. You have to kind of consider, if you have a program where you're lifting legs frequently, this is something that can be very commonplace, where you go into your next leg day sore. Like, one of the things when you look at programming on the internet is that, we can just structure everything nicely, lay it out, upper posterior, torso, limbs. Let's train frequently. Let's train everything a certain number of days. Unfortunately, in the real world, not every muscle group recovers the same. Your chest isn't going to recover the same as your back, isn't going to recover the same as your triceps, isn't going to recover the same as your legs. And the point here is that there's a good chance your legs might, not always, a good chance that your legs might take a little bit longer to recover. So we can put all these nice little structures into our programming, and then we hit the gym and we realize my legs aren't recovering as quickly as everything else. Help, what do I do? Well, we either have to adjust, go to a little bit more elaborate type of a plan, a little bit more complex, or we need to suck it up. If this is a recurring thing, then we probably need to change programs. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Ernie, I love the classic series. Thank you. I need to do another one this week. I've had a lot of suggestions. I think Vince is a good one. I saw a picture of Vince with Arnold the other day on, was it Facebook? I'll see if I can find it really quick, but I found it very, very interesting because the size difference was dramatic. Let's see, Gonda, Arnold posts you've seen. Let's just see if it pops up on the old. Of course not. You know, why would it pop up on Facebook? Right? It's I put posts that you've seen recently, and it's kind of dumb, but that's Facebook. Let me just check one more thing. I would like to see if I can find that picture of Arnold and Vince next to one another. One more try, okay? Don't go anywhere. And if I don't find it in the searchy-worchy on the Googles, then we will let it go. I don't see the specific picture. It just really dramatically showed the difference between Gonda's size and Arnold's size. I don't know Gonda's arm size. I'm going to have to reference that, but he looked a little bit smaller than I remember him looking. It was just an interesting picture. Richard, happy Friday. Thanks for sharing your time and knowledge. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Big Justin Jones from Jonesville. If you had to reduce volume on some exercises from 3 to 2 sets because workouts are too long, well, first off, if I need to cut things down, I'm generally going to cut down the posterior lifts for a number of reasons. Number one, they're time consuming. Deadlifts, RDLs, squats. You know, find a way to reduce the time. And hold on a second. That's something in my throat. Second, you know, I'll probably reduce those down to 2 sets. Just to, you know, take away some of the time intensity that can come from these lifts just from a time standpoint. And number two, they can be very, very, you know, unforgiving. So by reducing the volume a little bit on the posterior lifts, we might be a little bit more fresh in general to attack the rest of the workout. I'm not saying you need to do this. I've rarely ever done this, but I do it with some of my clients. It's certainly reasonable. I mean, if you're getting in 2 sets of squats and 2 sets of deadlifts and 2 sets of RDLs over the course of a week, you have plenty of room to hit your back and your quads and your traps and everything else. So this is a very, very reasonable approach. Hold on one sec. Sorry. Something flew into my throat, some kind of a random allergen, something. We have some kind of an air quality warning. And I don't think my sinuses liked that much. All right, Steve, do you endorse the seated Smith machine? Yeah, it's a fine exercise. I have some clients that do it. I have no issues with it. What you want to look at is, do you have a quality selection of exercises to hit each area? So it's a quality variation. You just want to watch the side view. You want to make sure your wrist stays over your elbow when you bring it down. Okay, so you're going to have to lean a little bit back. If the guys that try to stay upright, your wrists are going to push forward of your elbows, and you're going to be pushing like this, and it's not good for shoulder health. It places some unwanted negative stress on the shoulders. Want to make sure from the side view your wrists stay over your elbows and press straight up. Definitely a perfectly quality exercise. Nothing wrong with using it. So yeah, you can use it in your weekly rotation. Any golden tidbits for JM presses you've picked up? The biggest thing is when you watch them, when you're doing a JM press, you don't really want your elbows to drop below your shoulders. When you're doing a JM press, you want to fold the elbows and just bring the bar down naturally, wherever it wants to come. You can arbitrarily aim for your throat area, your chin area, or if you have longer arms or mouth area or whatever. But we want to fold the elbows, okay? We don't want the elbows going below the shoulders. So sometimes on the JM press, when you watch a video, you'll see somebody and they'll kind of fold the elbows, but their shoulders will go down. Very nuanced, right? But you want to fold the elbows and keep the elbows above the shoulder when it comes to the side. That's the biggest thing you need to look for. You also don't need to arbitrarily, hey, the weight has to come here, wherever. Just keep it natural. Keep the elbows above the shoulders, bring it down. You don't have to go super deep. It's not a contest to see who can strangle themselves with the barbell or easy bar. Take it down to a natural position where it's not stressing your elbows, and then press back up. You don't want to go to some arbitrary low point, don't get into the like the ass to grass squatting mentality where you have to take it as deep as possible or it has no value. We need to take care of our body. Just take it to the point where it feels natural, press it back up. You are good to go. All righty. How do you determine if a certain food with a person is not good for them? If they don't like to eat it? I'm not being dismissive, but obviously we want to focus the majority of our intake on animal and plant-based choices. However you slice and dice that is up to you. Animal-based choices have the greatest degree of nutrient density, so therefore they are always a wise choice from that standpoint. If somebody ethically does not want to eat Bob the cow, they do not have to eat Bob the cow, but Bob the cow still has a greater degree of nutrient density than Larry the tomato, right? Or what's the Veggie Tales? Who's the pickle? Who's Bob the tomato, Larry the pickle, whatever they are. So when it comes to food choices, there's no magic food choices. Bob the cow is delicious. There's no magic food choices. You pick the animal and plant-based food choices you like, and you don't have to eat them repetitively, like only those food choices. But as long as you're getting in a reasonable selection of animal and plant-based food choices, you're in a good zone. There are no magic foods, no foods you need to eat. You don't need to eat beef. I eat bison and venison primarily, and eggs. Those are my three big protein choices, along with Greek yogurt. Plant-based choices, I don't like to say fruits and veggies. I like to say plant-based because when we say eat your veggies, we all think about broccoli and cauliflower and carrots, and nothing wrong with them. But when I eat my veggies, they're onions, they're jalapenos, they're tomatoes, peaches, anything you like that is plant-based. So the only reason you need to set a food choice aside is A, you don't like it. B, it upsets you. It doesn't make you feel good when you eat it. It bothers your stomach, maybe gives you the Ray shit skis. I don't know. So I'm not trying to be silly here, but there are no magic food choices. Anybody that comes on, any influencer comes on social media and they're like, this is a superfood, right? There are some foods that obviously tend to lean in that direction. Eggs, one of them, just a wonderful source of of vitamins and minerals, nutrients, etc. But as long as you're getting in a reasonable selection of animal and plant-based, you're fine. So there's no troubleshooting rice and potatoes. Bloating is not, we've talked about bloating. That's something usually just skinny guys run into when they eat more and they feel their stomach more full. If something is legitimately causing you bloat, like you're over relying on plant-based choices and you feel an unsettling in your stomach, then you should not eat the food. Justin Jones, wouldn't make much sense to do 2 sets of squats and 3 sets of, that's nothing wrong with that. As long as your weekly overview of your program is fine. That's perfectly fine. You could do 2 sets of squats to make a little bit of room, 3 sets of leg extensions on a weekly basis. Maybe you add in hack squats, maybe you add in lunges. It's the big picture that matters, not the individual pieces. And we are human. We can't live in the gym. Most of us can't live in the gym. If you do only, air quotes, only 2 sets of squats a week for 20, 10, 15 years, you're going to develop a big squat. It will contribute to bigger legs, and there's no downside at all. So a lot of this has to be structured pragmatically. Does that make sense? Would leg press or hack squats be a better lift to help improve my squat? Sing it along with me, Massive Iron Universe. Best or better is always, let's hear it. I want somebody to type it into the comments. Best or better is always what? A combination of both. So if you're not sure, try both. Alternate every other week. No one can answer this question. If any influencer or coach is telling you one is better than another, they are full of bleep. Okay? They are. No one can answer this. But best or better is usually a combination of both. So if you really want to improve your squat, improve your quad strength, run both of them. This doesn't mean you need to stay with both of them. This doesn't mean both of them are going to inherently benefit your squat, but no one can answer that question for you. This is something that we need to get into the gym and try. Try both, maybe alternate every other week. And even then, you might get a lot of quad soreness from leg press, maybe a lot of hamstring soreness from hack squats, and you're having a hard time figuring out what is carrying over to what. We can't figure that out in most cases when we add an exercise. These guys that go in and I added the JM press and my bench press blew up by 40 pounds. I do not believe it. Because number one, these claims are usually hyperbolic. They're extreme. I did this and I had this huge, huge benefit. Lifting doesn't really work like that. The only time you really see that is if somebody was just on a mediocre program, not pushing for progression, not eating properly, had a crappy exercise selection, and then they get on a structured program with structured eating, and then they'll say, my lifts and my muscle blew up on this program. That's because what you were doing previously was El Stinko, right? So when you see these hyperbolic or grand claims, I added in this exercise and my squat blew up. It doesn't pass the smell test. It really doesn't. It's a red flag. You should consider that a red flag. Many times it's more of a case of somebody wasn't training it hard at all and tried something that forced them to train hard, and then their lifts went up, okay? Or it's a case of somebody getting on social media and just proclaiming that the exercises they do are the greatest thing in the world just because it's the exercises they do, right? We see this a lot. I do leg press, and it's the greatest thing ever. Most of the time, it's just somebody wanting to feel better about their choices. So, long story short, when it comes to the leg press or hack squat, do both for a long period of time and understand you don't know necessarily What is impacting what? Leg press might be leaving your quad sore. Hack squats might be leaving your hamstring sore. But both of them might be contributing to a bigger squat. Strength builds strength. It's mostly the effort. Mostly it's in here, in your heart and in your head. Your drive and your passion. If you're using a reasonable selection of exercises, let's just see what happens. And if you want to try something different over time and maybe move in the reverse lunge instead of the hack squat, or the leverage squat instead of the leg press, or whatever, do so. But don't fear exercises. And if you don't like them, you don't have to stay with them. What's going to improve your squat over time is having a good selection of exercises that you enjoy, that target every muscle group, your quads, your hamstrings, whatever, and then attacking them safely with good form, with progressive overload. And if you're not certain, or if you want to try new exercises, every new phase of training, every 3, 4, 5 months, feel free to try something new. Don't think it's going to be magic. All right. Thoughts on carbs. It seems that bodybuilders in the 70s and 80s kept them low year round and focused on fats and proteins. Are higher carb diets better, or are the drugs better? It depends on the individual. I mean, I've studied a lot of the diets. The biggest thing you learn when you look back in time is that there wasn't a lot of fast food, right? There wasn't a lot of junk food. Even when it was around, guys like Vince Gironda and Arnold and Lou, they ate reasonably. They ate animal and plant-based. Some of them would add a little bit of wine in, or whatever, or beer, or whatever. They were men, they were adults, but you saw a lot more really low carb or carb restriction during cutting phases or getting prepared for shows. I think some of this was more mental to a degree. When you drop the carbs, the water weight flushes out. But, you want to stick to reasonable training. Do you have to go anything that's really black or white or extreme when it's phrased for the general public or population is really, really idiotic. No carbs, low carbs, keto, only animal-based foods. If you want to go carnivore, go ahead. I don't have anything against it. If you want to go vegan, go ahead. If you want to, rely more on carb-based eating, and just get 150 grams of protein a day, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You do you. None of this stuff matters. If you're getting ready for a bodybuilding contest, then there are specific rules and protocols and things you have to do, a reasonable structure. But for the rest of us, none of this matters. It really doesn't matter. Take care of your body with a good selection of animal and plant-based. Don't fear carbs. Fear black and white nonsense, right? If you're eating foods, that are full of nutrients, that requires the body to work for those nutrients, then you're absolutely fine. You're going to be fine unless you have some sort of a medical condition. The people that say fruit makes you fat are idiots. Fruit, you have to work for those nutrients. You have to work for those carbs in the fruit. It doesn't spike your insulin levels. It doesn't put you on the same insulin roller coaster as eating a Little Debbie snack cake, right? So don't overthink this stuff. Take care of your body with nutrients. Take care of your body with the food choices you enjoy, both animal and plant-based, and don't develop an eating disorder or disordered eating, or don't just jump on some bandwagon because somebody says it's magic. None of this stuff is magic. The magic is hard training. The magic is progressive overload. The magic is a good exercise selection. The magic is evolving training based on needs. And the magic for a bulk is being in a calorie surplus and getting in your nutrients and getting in a reasonable degree of protein. As far as elite level bodybuilders at the top end of things, I don't really care because we're not them. Ice Cold Tea 2.0. Happy Friday. Hit some new PRs. Congrats. 185 strict press for a single, 205 power clean for a single. Good. That's wonderful work. Really happy to see that. Out of curiosity, have you ever tested your grip strength? No, I have not. I have Captains of Crush grippers. I have grip strength that's good enough to deadlift, about 700 pounds. But I wear grip support because I don't like elbow tendonitis. Overworking the grip on holds and on deadlifts and on back day without straps or without protect grips is going to contribute to elbow tendonitis. But I've tried the Captains of Crush grippers. Even though I have what I would consider pretty satisfying to me a level of grip strength. The gripper showed me that I have a little bit of, nowhere near elite regarding grip strength. How do you bulk without getting a big gut? You're not going to get a big gut with a proper bulk. I'm being polite when I say this, but I'm being honest. Skinny guys tend to say this. They eat a little bit of food and their stomach pushes out an inch and they panic. This is not a problem. That's normal. Everybody has that. You're not going to get a big belly from a bulk. You only get a big belly from abusing food. Yes, your body fills up around the gut. That's normal. I'm going to say this with love and respect, but you need to get over it, right? You need to get over it because, number one, if you're skinny enough to notice and worry about it, then you need to build muscle, right? It's nothing to fear. It's not prolonged. It's just you're going to have a full stomach a couple hours after your meal. I say this with love and respect. Get over it. Get over it. You can't avoid this. What are you going to do? Eat like 300 calories every 3 hours because you develop some eating disorder because you don't like to, have your stomach stick out an inch? This isn't bloating. This isn't stomach bloating. This isn't some gut distension from some adverse reaction to food intake. This is what happens when you fill your stomach. It's a physiological reality. And again, I say this with love and respect, but you need to get over it. I run into this problem over and over again with skinny guys. They develop a crazy fear of eating properly, not improperly, but properly, and never allow themselves to gain weight because they're paranoid their belly's going to protrude an inch because they're full. This is borderline eating disorder. This is disordered development of disordered habits. It's leading you down the wrong path. You're fearing something that's not harmful. It's normal. When my dogs eat, their bellies distend slightly. You got to get over it. If not, you're going to end up on the boneyard that is all of these lifters who never bulk properly, stating properly, because they're afraid of their belly sticking out an inch. So there's no macro distribution. If you're trying to develop a macro distribution or a food choice distribution that prevents you from being full, you are in the state of developing an eating disorder, or you have an eating disorder. You have disordered eating. I don't know you, okay? And I am not trying to slam you publicly. I care. This is not a good way to think. You need to build muscle. You need to eat the calories you need to eat on a properly structured bulk to build muscle. You need to look in the mirror and say, self, I do not give a shit how my belly temporarily looks when I'm eating properly. No one in the general public around you gives a shit either. No one can see your stomach sticking out an inch when you eat normally on a normal bulk. Again, I'm saying this respectfully, and I'm repeating myself over and over and over again. No one gives a shit. No one can see it, and it's normal. Okay? Are you hearing me? It's normal. You need to fight to get over this, because if not, you're going to develop a increasingly unhealthy relationship with food. We are not encouraging you to abuse the body. But if you want a proper bulk, there's going to be some minor stomach distension from feeling full. If you're trying to distribute macros and food choices, you are on the train tracks to a very, very bad place. Brian, Steve, can you explain to me the difference between strength and power? Basically, if you are benching 315, let's say your bench press max is 315 or 275 or whatever, that is a level of strength, right? Power generation, you have to be able to generate maximum power to get the bar up, right? If not, you're not going to be able to execute and hit that strength level. You're not going to be able to execute that strength level. So power generation sometimes can be feared, in the lifting world. People want to do a dumbbell row like this without power generation. Power generation tends to recruit maximum amount of muscle fibers, right? That's how it works. You're recruiting muscle fibers so you can move the weight. So power is kind of the ability to explode and generate force, right? To generate enough force to push a weight. A lot of people worry too much about developing power generation. If you develop strength, you're going to be able to, you're going to have power. If you're benching 315, you have the ability to generate power. Does that make sense? So, don't overthink this stuff. That's my biggest advice. There are some people that get caught up in I'm going to spend a lot of time trying to develop my power. Just use normal progressive overload and your power generation is going to come. I mean, to get out of the hole on a squat, you need to be able to generate power. To pull the bar off the ground on deadlifts, you need to be able to generate power. And I'm not trying to oversimplify things, but there is a trap that I have seen strength athletes fall into, where they get so worried about building up the ability to generate power that they focus less of their time on just base building strength. Does that make sense? Harris, happy weekend. And McBean, good to see you, my friend. If I'm lifting at 6 a.m. and work 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., which meal of the day should be the heaviest? It has to be structured so it's comfortable for you. But if you're lifting at 6 a.m., you want to get up and have some water and sodium, at least straight out of bed. It's probably a good idea to have a moderate meal after lifting, just to get the glycogen, just to get the body, get some nutrients in the body. The body's like a sponge, so to speak, after exercise. 1 second. The body is like a sponge after, after a workout. So you need to, be able to get a little bit of a meal in after lifting. How much you eat really depends on, I don't want you to go to bed hungry, but being prepared for your workout and then getting a little bit of nutrition after your workout is probably a good thing. And then after that, you structure everything based on your day and your needs. What are your deadlift tips for guys with long torso and T-Rex arms? Nothing different. You just have to really dial in the deadlift based on your limb lengths and leverages. I mean, there's really no different set of cues. Your hips can't be up during a deadlift, or else you're going to have lower back stress. So barbell RDLs aren't so bad because I'm not going to the floor. That's mostly form. So the only thing you could do that would help, and this is something I have mentioned to some of my other clients, is pulling off the floor. If you have shorter arms, pulling off the floor 2, 3, 4 inches would probably be of benefit. Any of your clients doing the loop split? I've had clients do everything. You know, I don't recall offhand, but yeah, I've had many clients do that. I have a lot of splits, you know, a lot of different types of programming. So yeah, many clients have done it. What's the least amount of exercise a person can do per session? Minimal is just a mindset. Minimalism is like, I'm going to arbitrarily only use barbells because, you know, whatever, because somebody on the internet said barbells are the greatest, and I'm going to only arbitrarily use barbells. Minimalism is like generally a cancer, where we boil things down and reduce it for reasons other than just being reasonable and trying to do the most we can to get effective progress, you know, out of our training. So I don't get into theoreticals. You know, you do what you can in the season of lifting. You maximize that season of lifting. And what I consider minimalistic training is somebody that becomes unreasonable and doesn't want to do like dumbbells. You don't have to do dumbbells, and you don't have to do machines. You're going to work with the equipment you have available. But if somebody becomes unreasonable and thinks that squats and deadlifts alone are going to build massive amounts of muscle mass, and they try to ignore the reality that these are difficult lifts to master, and they're probably not producing as much impact as they want. This is more the minimalistic cancer that eats away gains, if that makes sense. The DOMs are caused by a deload week followed by a miscalculation in intensity in the first leg day of the week. That's reasonable. You know, that's a lot to comb through right there, because, you know, I need to know why you're deloading. Usually after a deload week, you go back to your normal weight. So I'm not being critical. I just don't understand why you're trying to calculate intensity after a deload. You should go back to what you were doing previously. And thank you, Happy. Appreciate the well wishes. Big J Nelson. Ever since starting your workout, I have a ton more energy, and my fiance has noticed a difference. That's excellent, man. I'm really glad to hear that, and I appreciate that feedback. Dumbbell walking lunges, dumbbell RDLs, which one to do first? I always prioritize quads because they're more of a show exercise. You know, or a show muscle group. You can see them. I don't want to undertrain my hamstrings. You could certainly train your hamstrings first, or if you find benefit warming up with hamstring work and then doing walking lunges, either one would be fine, to be honest with you. What is the minimal time length of a bulk before mini cut to be productive? Generally, anything less than 3 months is a little bit unproductive. The first couple weeks of a bulk, you're dialing in your nutrition, you're getting used to the demands of the program. And then you probably want at least about 3 months after that to gain at least 1 kilo a month. Anything beyond that, and you're just getting into too much cutting during the course of a year. So you're spending more time cutting than you are bulking, if that makes sense. On a body part split, shrugs and rear delt flies go on back day or shoulder day, whatever you want, whatever you have time. Back day is usually more intense for me. So I find that I generally, after doing my back work, I generally don't have a lot of energy to do much. Sometimes I'll do shrugs. Sometimes I'll do rear delt flies. It depends on the outline of the program. But in general, shoulder day is going to allow for a little bit more room, I would say, for the average individual. I mean, pressing day is not going to be easy. But I find doing a back day to be more intense in general, but do whatever feels good for you, honestly. Do men need isolation exercises for glutes in case they're doing a dumbbell only work? Some of this is just, if you have a good selection of leg work, lower body work, many times you're going to get a lot of direct stimulation on your glutes. And some people won't. I did squats for 40 years and they don't really develop my glutes. I'm very quad dominant. So, it's not always easy to do isolation exercises for glutes, glute kickbacks or, whatever you got going on. It's not as simple as do men need it. It's goal driven and what value you're getting from your leg work in general, if that makes sense. Bob the cow is very delicious. Steve, have you got any brand or model recommendations with respect to adjustable block dumbbells? Here's the thing that I get into with those. I have many, many clients with them. And the only thing, I don't really hear anybody complaining about anything they own, to be honest. I don't get a lot of negative criticism about any of the adjustable dumbbell sets. So I am not an expert, but I will tell you, in working with a large group of people, I don't run into a lot of criticism. My best of anything in specific, my best advice would be to watch one of the home gym channels that do reviews of gym equipment and just educate yourself off their content. I'm not trying to pass the buck, but I don't want to speak outside of my lane and pretend like I'm an expert on this when I'm really, really not. No, should we fear muscle loss? No. This is just hype and it's fear. You're not going to lose muscle. Any noteworthy degree of muscle, basically none on a short-term aggressive cut, as long as you're training hard. This is something that is just a waste of time. Even if you would lose an ounce of muscle memory is real and you'll get it back immediately when you go on to the bulk. Even then, it's just such an overblown fear. The vision in the head is like, I'm going to go on a cut and I'm going to lose all kinds of muscle. This isn't reality, folks. It does not happen. It's not reality. When a bodybuilder gets close to very low percentages for a show, they're going to have lean body mass decrease of like their organs. To what degree, but still, you're going to notice some decrease in lean body mass from that, from less glycogen in the muscles. You might lose a few pounds then when you're getting down to that very, very low percentage, but some of that can just be a general decrease in lean body mass from getting to a ridiculous fat level. This isn't a fear anybody should ever worry about. What is the concern? I'm going to lose muscle and I'll never get it back again. It's gone forever. No, that doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. Even if you would lose a couple of grams or an ounce, even if you would starve yourself and lose 5 pounds of muscle, it'll come back right away and with muscle memory. But that's not going to happen. You would have to be in prolonged starvation for a long period of time, not lifting to lose muscle mass. It's a non-issue. Have you ever implemented wide stance squats? not specifically to develop the adductors and glutes. I have done wide stance squats, yes. I don't like low bar wide stance. It doesn't feel good for me. I'm very quad dominant. It tends to push my knees in. So I don't tend to like them. I'm not against them, but I would not abandon conventional squats altogether. I'd use both. Big Lee. Last week you mentioned demon training. I can't find a decent description of it online. So let me see real quick. Hold on. Demon training was by, I believe, Trevor Smith. I'm trying to remember. So don't search that yet. Search Demon Training Trevor Smith. I'm going to pull up something. I'm going to pull up Google. You might have heard of Google. It's, let's see, present, share screen. Okay, so Demon Training Trevor Smith. So T Nation has something from 2009. Let me just mute this. I've been looking around for a program. Let's see. Demon Training. There's Trevor right here with Ronnie. Trevor Smith died 5 years ago. So we have a reference there. Muscle and Fitness. BFT, Beyond Failure Training, or Demon Training. Trevor Smith has passed on, but there's an article here that references it. I think the best one you're going to get is maybe Titan Slacks of Des Doban. So this is what you want to search. If you're not familiar with this website, this is a archive of pretty much everything important in the history of lifting you'll find here. And let's see. Beyond Failure Training, or BFT, or Demon Training, basically will make Mentor training look like a walk in the park. Let me just do one quick thing here. I'm going to try to pull out the old Chat GPT and see what we can search live to see if we find any information. It's a very interesting training style, very, very brutal. Any information on Demon Training by Trevor Smith? Please keep it simple and outline a sample program. All right, let's just see what we got. Is a hardcore, high-volume, high-intensity bodybuilding program from the 90s. Trevor Smith was a massive bodybuilder and mentor to several pros. His Demon Training method pushed the limits of muscle endurance, intensity, and size, kind of a mix between Dorian Yates-style intensity and extreme volume. High volume, high intensity, often using forced reps, rest pause, a lot of post-failure techniques. Minimal rest, so we use a lot of, not specifically rest pause, but minimal rest, tight form, and split training. Trevor trained like a demon. Don't just move the weight, feel the muscle, et cetera, et cetera. So it was not just Mentor style of training with a lot of Beyond Failure. It was volume, it was intensity, it was insane. So definitely nothing I would recommend or personally ever try. But if you want to try it, Godspeed to you. Have a great weekend. Thank you, JR. Appreciate it. Private citizen, I've got a 16-year-old who plays football. He lifts with the team in the morning for an hour, 4 days a week. Would I be overtraining him if I brought him in? No, not at all. Just feed him like a horse. Make sure he feels okay, and he should be absolutely fine. Thank you, Big Hairy Ugly Dude. Very appreciative. I understand you love the love and respect and passion. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you deal with Do you have any clients who struggle with lack of appetite? Yeah, certainly. I mean, when you deal with the general public, and I mean that in the best possible way, meaning a wide variety of lifters, you have a wide variety of circumstances. So, absolutely. What I tell people, and this is not being short or dismissive, is there's only one way, right? You have to have a reasonable bulk. So, if you're struggling to get in the food intake, I do not care. And I say that with love and respect. I have a weak appetite. I don't care. It's like saying, I don't really feel like pushing my next set because mentally I'm not strong enough. I don't care. Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude, the weight feels heavy. I'm afraid of the weight. I don't care. There is a method that you must utilize to get the results you want. Now, I'm not telling you to punish the body or beat up the body or do anything reckless or train with loose form or tear up anything. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you have to find ways to deal with these things. If you struggle with lack of appetite, eat more calorie dense foods. Ice cream, Doritos, add a little bit of that in, get your protein in, get your nutrients in, add a little bit of that higher calorie stuff, on the rough edges. Add a little bit of sour cream, add a little bit of cheese, add a little bit of avocado on a meal. Find a way to get in your calories. You have to find a way. I said to a client last week, and this is applicable, I do not care about the reasons why you can't do something, because anyone that is highly successful doesn't sit there going, I don't have the mental strength, or the weight feels too heavy, or I can't eat enough. I'm just going to do what I'm doing and be satisfied. Anyone that's successful finds a way to get it done. They don't spend their time going, I have this issue, right? They're like, I have this issue. What can I do to overcome this issue? They're pushing themselves past the boundaries. We're not destroying ourselves. We're not overeating. We're not punishing the body in inordinate ways. But successful people find a way. Unsuccessful people wallow in their excuses or perceived limitations. When I say I do not give a shit if you struggle with a lack of appetite, it's because that's what you need to tell yourself. These are things I tell myself. I wake up every day with my struggles, just like you're going to wake up every day with your struggles, your brain pushing back, your body pushing back. We have very specific goals. When these things creep into me, into my brain, I say to myself, I do not give a shit. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way. You need to become a person that finds a way. Does that make sense? All right. How do you convince yourself it's okay to let the shreds go? I mean, if you don't want to build muscle, I'm, not being a smartass. I mean, I don't care how you feel. And it goes back to what I just said. Like, I like being shredded. Well, then be shredded. But you can't both be shredded and build muscle. Not being hard, that's the reality. Unless you're taking some weird drugs, you're going to need to go through a process. And when your brain pushes back and says, I don't want to lose 9, 10, 11, 12% body fat because I like the way I look, either like the way you look and be good with your muscle mass, or push back and say, I don't care. I'm going to do the process. You have to figure that out for yourself. I can't make you want it. This is about wanting it. This is about following a known process. Does the lever squat in your home No, not at all. It doesn't, and not in any way. The only way it would stress anybody's lower back is if they had a pretty bad lower back condition to begin with. Currently cutting, but kind of tired. Do you think there's benefit to going down? Oh, you're right there. I mean, it's only a couple of pounds. So, if you want to, I mean, at that level, it's personal choice. I can't make that decision for you. The only benefit is that you're going to have a couple more pounds that you can bulk, or a couple pounds you can stop your bulk short of. But that's really the only benefit. On a full body workout, is it better to leave the arms to the end? You never do your arms before the big compounds. Never, 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 never. This is called interference. You don't want to fatigue the smaller muscle groups headed into the big muscle groups. That's counterproductive. The big lifts are going to give you the most bang for the buck with progression and with muscle building. And then as you're fatigued, you move on to the smaller muscle groups. The fear in a lot of people is that they think that the only way to build big arms is to, do curls and cable tricep extensions. And they want to be fresh, when doing them. You need to work hard, and you should get onto your arm work feeling a little bit torched. But that's really when it becomes valuable to put a little bit of icing on the cake. Michael, last call for questions, guys. We have 5 left. Last call. Hey, everybody. Cheers from Berlin. My question, do you actually lose body fat during the first few days of a cut? Yeah, I mean, you certainly are going to lose body fat. The belief is it's only water weight, and it's not only water weight. If you are going into a cut, there's going to be a transitional period where your body is going to, transition everything to be, to what you are doing to become as efficient as possible, because the body seeks efficiency because it's better for us as a species to be efficient at what we're doing. But if anybody says you're not losing any body fat, it's just all water weight, that's really dumbed down and silly. You're going to start losing. Will it happen immediately? Immediately on the first meal, where we're eating 1,000 calories, and now your meal is 600? Not necessarily, but it's going to pick up really, really quickly. And the decrease in carbs and the decrease in electrolytes, that's going to cause water flushing, etc. But once you immediately enter into kind of a calorie deficit mode where your body has to start finding energy, it's going to respond pretty quickly. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I want to thank you for your guidance and encouragement. I appreciate that. I've been able to rebuild my shoulder post-surgery. That's wonderful, wonderful overhead work, and nice job on your part. Thanks, Big Justin Jones. I appreciate it. The unlikely toad. What generally happens when you're progressing with weight week to week, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall and get weaker? That generally does not happen. It's very, very aberrant. It's not likely to happen. If something like that happens, then something unusual is going on. Your central nervous system is off. You're getting sick. You're fighting a bug, or your calories are not consistent. What does weight training centered around weight loss look like? You always focus on your big mission. If you need to lose weight, you're going to train about the same as you would in any other way. You don't really adjust how you train. You just always train safe and smart. Does that make sense? So there's really no difference. And let's see. Paul said all of it. Hey, Steve, love your no BS content. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am, sorry. It's just an A, so I don't want to assume. So sorry. I want to blow up my shoulders, so I'm doing seated overheads before my inclines. Good. I hear some people say overhead press is redundant. This is just dumbed down, idiotic thinking. Yes, your inclines are going to hit your front delts, but doing overhead pressing is going to place more stress on your side delts, so you need it in your program. This is just reductionist, dumb thinking. Ventrix, do you change your program at all when you're on a cut? The only thing you don't do is lose sleep when you can't progress. What I say on a cut is if you're doing dumbbell curls and you can easily get the next rep, take the next rep, right? Steal the easy reps. You don't have to feel compelled to do the big grindy stuff on a cut, but take the safe advancement when you can on a cut. Does that make sense? You bet. Thank you. When considered running as part of an overall program, do you choose a distance and frequency? You don't want to be trying to go out and set PRs with running every time. That's just, that's like trying to do 1 rep max attempts on lifting every week. You want to run a conversational pace. You want most of your running to be base building. I usually run off time rather than distance. You can do distance if you want. I have very specific running programs and plans that I give to clients. I've been educated. I've had 2 of the top running coaches in the world, and that doesn't make me a top runner. I've just hired and worked with some of the best running coaches in the world. I've studied their programming. You want to basically set time, and then once a week you can do what we call tempo running. I don't have time to get into that here, but you can always DM me and I can send you some sample running programs. What rep range do you use for overheads? I heard on one video that I use a wide variety, to be honest with you. Pretty much the same as bench. Anywhere between 5 to 12 that works for you is fine. So I don't want to give you a specific rep range. Sometimes the shoulders don't work as well when it comes to endurance. So just use a rep range that works for you. Nothing is going to contribute to bad shoulder health other than really sloppy, nasty form. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I'll be back at 11 a.m. Eastern next Friday. Please head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Click the coaching tab. Sign up for coaching right now, and I will do everything I can to help you get great results. Have a great weekend, and to you fathers, have a great Father's Day weekend.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.